So I'm with Braver Angels. We used to be known as Better Angels, and I like the name Braver. We were Better Angels from Lincoln's talk that he gave at another very difficult time. And we had to be honest and full candor, we had to change our name. The documentary maker, Ken Burns, who I try not to use his name now. You know, there's the Ken Burns effect, and I refer to that now as the still photo moving effect. But he actually had a Braver Angels Society. So there was a trademark lawsuit, and we had to change, but we think it's actually a good change to reflect the kind of courage or civic courage that we need, that all of us need, in confronting this problem of polarization that's causing dysfunction in government, dysfunction in families, violence and the threat of violence, cynicism about our institutions. And what Scott was saying about democracy was borne out. You know, last year there was I think it was a Quinnipiac University poll where more than 70% of Democrats and Republicans agreed on something, and that's that our democracy is in danger of collapse. So that's the alarm that brought us together in Braver Angels. I was actually looking for something for years and years and kind of shocked. I think it goes back, my first memory of being alarmed was the confirmation hearing for Clarence Thomas. That was Anita Hill brought charges, and that was a very difficult judiciary hearing confirmation. And I somehow saw it, and I actually don't remember how I saw so much of it. And I was really alarmed at the quality of what I saw. It was this hyper-partisanship about this issue, and nobody was doing what they were supposed to be doing. And that's kind of the nature or the consequence of putting party above country and so forth. So I began noticing that growing and got very alarmed that there was no one stepping in. And this was quite a while ago, that there wasn't a billionaire philanthropist who wanted to do something to kind of bring the parties together, or a group of universities getting together, or religious organizations getting together saying that this is hatred and it needs to stop among our leaders and among our people. So it felt to me like I was in a car and it was heading toward a cliff, that our nation was in a car heading toward a cliff, and I didn't want to feel like a passenger in the car. So I know that I can't steer us onto a better course. None of us can do that individually, but collectively we do choose our course. So we have a number of different ways of reaching the public. Workshops was the first thing that we did, and there's a sort of a distinction that we have in that we focus only, we're a group that focuses only on this one issue. We're trying to solve the problem of political polarization and the hatred and so forth that it produces. Our workshops are of two types. The type that we're going to do later today, which is kind of a hybrid, but it's teaching communication skills in part. It actually begins with kind of humility work, an introspective piece, and are we contributing to polarization? And then it goes on to how do you criticize ideas without attacking people, and then it goes into communication skills. And this is about people talking in their own like-minded group. So when everyone in a group is kind of the same, if it's a Facebook group or a church or whatever, it tends to get more extreme over time. And this is what social science research points to. So this is a workshop generally about that. We also have, of course, workshops about talking across the divide during these difficult times when we already have expectations about how bad people on the other side are going to be. And separately, we have workshops that create experiences that bring together people either Reds and Blues, we call it, Red-Blue Workshop, Conservatives and Liberals, in a full day of meeting, or about a particular issue to come together. And in Illinois, we have had 2 meetings in the past few months about the issue of abortion. And we brought together people who are mainly on the pro-life side and people who are mainly on the pro-choice side for respectful get-togethers. And that's what we're attempting to do. How are we doing so far with poetry? You know, it's a very difficult sell to people because I think we're all kind of content with where we're at. We have another distinction that is most of our workshops were designed by a family and marital therapist who I think is a Unitarian now. That's the last I heard, but family and marital therapist, so our workshops are sort of infused with techniques of family and marital therapy, which sort of fits because we are kind of like a fractured family that is not talking to each other very much, but is talking about each other quite a bit. And the other thing that distinguishes us is that we believe that we can only move forward in this because it is a kind of relationship between people of different political beliefs. We can only move forward together. So we not only recruit people, but in our leadership positions, we always have one conservative and one liberal working together. So I was surprised. Colleen told me, talk about oneness transcending all separation. She had actually heard an obscure radio interview that I did with our Red coordinator in Champaign, Matt Hausman, and I think she went looking for it. She didn't hear it at the time. She didn't say she liked it. She said, but you know, and it's the same with me and this prayer by Reverend Pickett, which I really love so much. I just want to pick out a few different points. And just to add one biographical note, there was an announcement of his passing from the association, and it said that he was a private, genuinely humble, even self-effacing person. And that is, to me, that's in his first words, the first paragraph there, for the expanding grandeur of creation, which is a creation that we were not the agents of. It arrived, if you believe in intelligent design, or if you believe in a happy set of happenstances, life on Earth was possible for human beings. Worlds known and unknown, galaxies beyond galaxies, filling us with awe, challenging our imaginations. These are words saying that we are small, that the galaxy and creation is large. They're words of humility, and I think that's something that has been lost in our political discussions today, that the certainty of opinion has taken the place of humility. So that's the first thing that really grabs me about what Reverend Pickett said. In the workshop today, we're going to look at some ways that like-minded people tend to create the other when they're talking about people who disagree with them politically, and how dangerous that can be. The social science research, there was a group of 16 political scientists led by Northwestern who reviewed the literature, and what they found was what we're doing is finding that the other side politically is different from us. They're othering them. That's the first thing. The second thing is that they are finding that they are unethical or immoral. So one half of the country basically believing that the other half is unethical or immoral. Not like us, unethical. There was a poll in 2020 during the election, before the election, that 80% of Republicans and Democrats each thought that the other side lacked American values. So again, othering them. So the final thing is that we believe that they are unlikable. So they are different, unethical, immoral, unlikable. And when we have our workshops, that is the thing that creates surprise. If we have red, blue workshops, people get to know each other and meet each other, and the first thing they're surprised at is that they like people on the other side. The second thing is that there's a range of opinion on the other side. And the third thing, range of opinion, I'll come back to that. So anyway, a lot of what we do is sort of explode stereotypes. And what Marianne's going to lead us, 5 minutes, okay. We're going to talk about 4 things that kind of promote this creation of a view of the other that is driving our hyperpartisanship when like-minded people get together. I've got these written down. Ridicule, which is obvious. Contempt, expressions of contempt, so that they are worthless. And there is a kind of a subset of that for the kinder people amongst us that, well, they've been duped. But really what that's saying is that they're worthless, they lack the normal human capacity for thought and feeling. It's the same thing. We talk about them in that way. Stereotyping, of course, and if you watch The Daily Show, you've seen what's his name, Jordan Klepper at the rallies, the Trump rallies, and you know it's a comedy show and it is funny, but they do interviews and somebody says something ridiculous and that's what they're going to use. On the other side, for a while, I was getting lots and lots of videos creating a stereotype of Antifa. And you know, Antifa is sort of a loosely organized anti-fascist group, and some of them have been violent, and some of them have brought violence to Trump rallies and so forth. And it became sort of a genre of art. I saw a number of these videos in a row where somebody sucker punches a Trump supporter, somebody else jumps forward and sprays them with some, you know, noxious spray, and says, that's what you get for being a fascist. So it creates the stereotype of that's how the left is. That's how they promote, that's how they are. Just as not all Trump supporters are like the ones we see on The Daily Show. So just a couple of other things. Reverend Pickett, you may have remembered, for high hopes and noble causes, for faith without fanaticism, for understanding of views not shared, which is directly the Braver Angels thing, is we try to understand views even though we disagree with them. And also that thanking for human liberties and sacred rights for opportunities to change and grow, to affirm and choose. So before Marianne makes another signal to me, I'm going to just suggest, this is my attempt as an internet minister to do a kind of a sermon-y finish. Affirming and choosing, I think that's really important where we are at in our democracy now. So the oneness transcending all separation, I think, should be affirmed and brought forward and glorified and celebrated, that we're all human, and whether it's because we're made in God's image or because we just are, we are the same, and it's the prejudice is sort of the narcissism of small differences between us. And even if the distance has gone greater now, we need to recognize it, and we can recognize it by looking for common ground, even with people that we disagree with. That's not the reflex right now, which is to clash immediately over differences, fight it out over differences, go back to our corners, reinforcing that they're crazy, they're stupid, they're evil. Instead of looking at what do we agree with and what are the values that they're expressing, because very often we differ on what we should do, the policy, but the underlying goal can be the same. So we need to look a little bit harder for the oneness transcending all separation, and we can find it when we look. That humility in our approach to people who we don't know, that the scientific method probably requires something other than imagining what their motivations are, making them up in our minds and nodding our heads when our friends are all saying the same thing. The humility is, I really don't know, and I ought to try to find out. So choosing would be to make it part of our political, to listen rather than teach lessons to them, because that's another kind of epidemic in the country, is teaching lessons. We know this from our workshops where the red group and the blue group separate to ask a question of understanding, and the moderators have to work like crazy to get it to not be a gotcha question, which is intended to herd them into a corner and admit how foolish they've been. So teaching lessons is what we do instead of listening right now. And then the third one, the need to understand the views not shared, to seek them out. And this means not just, well, if somebody approaches me, I'll talk to them and I'll listen, but to actually seek them out. Or at the back of the workshop we're going to do today, there is a good reading list of ways to get, in this case, conservative viewpoints. It's a safe bet. That are thoughtful and that you won't agree with them, but it may change the way you think about them. And finally, we're trying to learn and grow ourselves, and we're trying to attack the problem from different directions. This past year, we've added our Braver Politics section, which is working on the relationship between elected officials and also working on the relationship between officials and their constituents. But what we haven't been able to do yet is make depolarization a part of the political discussion and get the word to elected officials that as voters, we see this as a problem that's tearing apart. Why are you not talking about it as a problem to be fixed? And why are you not fixing it by working with people on the other side? So I thank you very much. I'm very grateful for the chance to talk to you. I hope to see you in just a little bit. So thank you.
Visit us at uusg.org.